Hello everybody and welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm Tone and it is really great to have you here with me once again. Now I know it's been probably a little bit more than a week since my last video and sorry for that. Got into a habit of doing it every day while I was doing that mask mandate nope thing. But since I've been going out into public, going shopping, very limited amounts of time, but still doing so. And yes, I am wearing the mask when I go out. But anyway, today I want to talk about something that I think is a good thing for us to understand. I currently spend my time in Melbourne, as you would know, because I'm in this stage 4 lockdown with curfew. But there's nowhere else that's doing things quite like what we're doing here in Melbourne. And it's a good thing to understand that the entire world, indeed those that are listening properly, they've got ears to listen and they've got eyes to see what's actually happening around them. They're looking at Melbourne and thinking, wow, if government can get away with something like that in Melbourne and the people just accept it, granted, there are plenty that, there's at least a decent number who don't like it and are speaking out against it, but the vast majority are just complying. We understand that the world is watching Melbourne right now, and I can't imagine that they're like, oh yeah, that's normal. They're watching to see how things happen here. Victoria and Melbourne in particular is a case study, a worldwide case study. How will people respond, comply with these levels of restrictions? And as we've talked about in other videos, when government or a movement of any sort wants to get to a new stage of developing, down their pathway, what they want to achieve, they push a little bit too hard and then retract back on themselves and go, oh, okay, maybe not yet. Now, it doesn't look like that to the majority of people because the next time that it comes, they allow it to come along. They allow it to go to that new stage. But like I said, those with ears to listen and eyes to see, just the silent majority, or I hope the silent majority, that are watching things and really taking it in for what it really is, they are aware that this is a step forward to a new reality. We keep getting told that it's a COVID normal, but I've got a pretty good feeling that that actually becomes the new normal. And it's another step down the path of further restrictions and easier, it'll be easier for them to put these restrictions in place because they've got a precedent now. Okay, so Victoria and Melbourne in particular is a case study and the world is watching this space. So that's something important to understand. I watched a number of videos on YouTube and I've been in a number of conversations with people from other countries who have stated this exact thing. They're watching what's happening in Melbourne because what's accepted in Melbourne, what's implemented in Melbourne, how the people react to it sets a precedent for what anyone can get away with later. And we know, if we're really honest and looking carefully, we know that there is a large socialist presence and a socialist idealistic push in Melbourne and Victoria. Okay, so that's something to be aware of, and I just wanted to touch on that today. Also wanted to touch on something that was in the news, and just, I have the news going on in the background while I'm doing my share trading and whatever else, that I'm doing throughout the day. I have the news going on in the background, and just I've basically got to sift through the crap to find the good, important, real information these days, because the media is just complete lies not complete, 96%, 97% being generous. The truth that they put in there allows them to get away with telling the lies that they do. So that's important to understand, and I think majority of people actually do get that now, hopefully. I mean, to some degree at least. But anyway, so on the news, I was listening to this conversation where they were looking at the data to do with the cases that are going on, and hey, thankfully, apparently, we're having less than 50 cases per day and whatever, even though they've pushed us out to extend it out, to the end of October before we can start to really ease restrictions and, the roadmap out and all of that sort of stuff that they've put in the news. I'll get to that in a moment. Keep getting ahead of myself. I wanted to talk about this thing they said in the news. I wrote it down just so that I remember. But it said for yesterday, 51 new cases in the last 24-hour period, from a number of 14,000 tests. And then they say it was down from 16,000 tests done in the previous 24-hour period. So that would have been for Wednesday. And a couple of weeks ago, or even a month ago, probably be a month by now, we heard them touting on the news and the media, of course, saying that we had not really had that much of a flu season. Now, didn't they say that if you show symptoms of a cold or flu, that was when you need to go and get tested? And of that 16,000 or 14,000 people that were tested because they had symptoms, they've gone and got tested because they had flu-like symptoms, 14,000, they found 51 new cases. Now, how many of those 51 cases were connected to clusters that, to do with aged care? I can't tell you because I didn't hear that little piece of information. But that means even less than 51 cases came out of that 14,000 tests. No flu season, huh? Do you see the way they twist things so much? There's been no flu season. Just 14,000 people went to get tested because they had flu-like symptoms and they had a cough or a sneeze or a dry throat or whatever, which is virus, that's virus stuff that causes that to happen. So they've got this symptom, they've gone and got tested. It turns out that only this tiny little number of people actually had COVID. But that many people went there because they had flu-like symptoms. But there's been no flu season. And then they tell us that each and every one of the cases that they've told us that has died from COVID was due to COVID. No flu season, because the people that would generally die of the flu in a year, some of those cases aren't recorded as flu deaths, and therefore we don't have a flu season. 14,000 people going to get tested because they've got symptoms of flu, but we don't have a flu season. Please. So don't buy that crap. I mean, that was just right there in my face. I'm busy doing my thing, and whammo, I hear that. And I go, no flu season, hey? Gee, they're sly and they get away with it. Because they didn't say anything about a flu season in this particular conversation. I'm bringing something that they talked about before, like a month ago. And then they dropped this little bomb saying 14,000 tests and only this many people tested positive to COVID. Sure, they tested positive to another type of flu. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the symptoms that they had. But there's no flu season. And there's no large number of people like there normally would be in any other given year of people who have died from the flu this year. So the stuff they get away with, folks, the stuff they get away with. Look, that was the main thing that I wanted to share. I want to talk briefly about Daniel Andrews, the stuff that he's just under attack. There's a lot of people that are out there saying he's done a fantastic job, and then there's and couldn't have done any better. I've stated many times I would not want his job. But look, when we're being fed these types of lies, blatant lies, and when we have things like, oh, I wasn't offered any help from the ADF, when we have, there's so many angles that people seem to be able to point at him right now, and they're not wrong to do so, and yet he's still there, and he's still saying it, and he looks sincere, and I can't speak to his sincerity directly, but I will say this: he's either lying to our faces about a lot of stuff, or he doesn't have the mental capacity to deal with this stuff and he's a mere puppet. They're the two choices. He's a puppet and he is just reading off a script, or he is most certainly not giving us the facts. I mean, to suggest that a supercomputer told him that he would need to have these restrictions in place to get out of this lockdown situation for a further month and a half, or till the end of October. A supercomputer told him. Put the data in, it gave me this result, it gave me these projected results, and that'll do. Supercomputer? AI. Are we that far along down there that we're just going to listen to a computer? Can we not think for ourselves? There's too much to this that doesn't add up. Although, if you do add it up, well, it doesn't add up in the way that they're trying to tell us it adds up. If you add it up, it doesn't add up to anything like what they say. That's the world we live in today, folks. Can't listen to what they say and take it for what they say, because guaranteed other stuff is going on behind the scenes. So just be aware of that. That's my encouragement. Be aware of what they're trying to feed you. Because they're trying to spoon feed everybody. This is for your own good. This is for your own good. Now, since I've been going out into public spaces, there are people out there they're not wearing masks. They're not being fined either. There are people going to parks and playing together. Kids riding bikes. Just not too far away. Kids building, digging ground on a public area because there aren't too many people out there. There's not everybody out there. There's kids out there digging trenches, and ramps and everything for their BMXing along the creek. No one's there checking that stuff out. people are mixing just the same as they normally would, even though we're in stage 4 restrictions. So, as far as where this is going, I'm increasingly confident now that Christmas is, it's fast approaching, and we're not going to be out of this by then. They're going to continue to have excuse after excuse after excuse to continue to have this lockdown in place. Now, I'm really thankful to know that they opened up the border back to the 40-kilometre either side of the border zone for the people that were there. Congratulations to those people who did speak up. In this case, they did win against Goliath on their terms, on his terms, on Goliath's terms. They kicked up enough stink, and the government went back. But remember what I said just a little while ago. That's what they do. They go for a power grab, a bigger one than what they think they can get away with, but they grab it, and then when it's, if no one said anything, of course they would keep hold of it. But if there's enough people that say, hang on a minute, or you can't do that, they pull back. They allow themselves that latitude to be able to pull back. They have excuses already set to be able to say, oh, this is why we did it, but turns out we don't have to go that far, sorry. It's all pre-planned. They know what they're doing. They're working towards an agenda, so of course they know what they're doing. And they also know how people will react, or they have a pretty good idea of how people will react. So they've got contingency plans all over the place to sort out exactly how they'll handle it if people do complain. Anyway, guys, that's really all I wanted to share with you today. I hope you're listening to what they're saying all the time, filtering everything. Don't get caught up with your life. I know you're busy with a lot of stuff you got to do, but don't get caught up so much as you just swallow what they feed you, because there's far too much of it that if you miss these signs, you miss the stuff that they're saying, and you can't piece it together. They spread it out. They tell the truth in some way or another, but they spread it out so far that unless you really are listening to what they say and analysing it, or at least going, hang on a minute, no, I heard you say something the other day and that doesn't match what you said, right? Unless you're doing that, you end up being like the sheep that just follow what they're told to do and placed in where they should be placed and all that sort of thing. Unbeknownst to them, they just do it, right? Don't be a sheep. That's my encouragement. Do what you've got to do the best that you can, but don't be a sheep. Don't just blindly follow. That's my encouragement. Just be aware that the world is watching Victoria, the world is watching Melbourne, and seeing how this case study plays out and just what governments are allowed to get away with now. Allowed to get away with by the people. Just be aware of that. I want to send out a massive thank you to anyone who has been watching my videos and sharing them. And I also want to just let you know that I feel for you all in the positions that you're in, whether it be loss of work, whether it be restrictions to how much you can work. I feel for you that you can't see your family and friends. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I haven't been able to see family since the start of the year. And it's been a long time. But I'm not disheartened. I'm not letting it get to me. I'm not allowing all of this to put fear in me and allow any anxiety to take hold. And that's my encouragement to you. Don't let any form of fear or anxiety take a hold of you, if you need to reach out to friends and family, pick up the phone, get on the social media, and connect. Anyway, that's really it. Just want to say thank you so much. If you like this video, please like it. Subscribe to my channel, that would be great too. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until next time, God bless, and bye for now.